It was me, my brother, and my best friend at the time. It's been a long time ago. At the time, we were pretty wild kids. So at this time, we were up late. Me and my best friend had a camp out. Doing whatever young kids do. Substances. This is a long time ago. He was my neighbor, so my brother and his friend had came to get us again to hang out. So we go back down to my house, just down the street. As we're sitting, just hanging out in my shack or the tool shed that we had. We're sitting there just talking about stuff, just as young kids do, just talking about how life is crazy, like all this stuff, whatever. Just tripping out. So we're just talking, and as we were there, 3 a.m, we heard the most disturbing screams that any of us have ever heard in our lives. So I could describe our situation, our location at the time. We live in no way are any of us prosperous. We were kids, our parents were well off. We lived in a pretty good side of town. And good neighborhood, but out of nowhere, we hear one scream, which sounded like a woman screaming bloody murder. We hear it. All of our eyes go wide. We take a moment to realize what just happened, until the second one came, which was even more gut-wrenching. Just ripped through our hearts. Young kids in our mid-teens, young teens, pre-teens, hearing that second scream. If our eyes could have gone any wider, they would have popped out of our heads. And just as we began to even start to explain what we just heard, the third came. And that one was deafening. That last scream was just horrible, insanely loud, to the point to where we were so surprised that we didn't see any lights, hear no sirens, anything to indicate that these deafening screams of complete torture of a woman just screaming her heart out. Young kids hearing this in the middle of the night. Young kids who were just doing their thing, hitting the Jiva, just hanging out, coming down. But as we heard this, we all gave each other the same look. Like, we have to help this young woman. It sounded so close, so near, to the point to where we felt like if we didn't move, this poor woman would become a victim of whatever made her scream like that. And as we started to run toward the edge of my rock wall, ready to just dive over the wall, put on a cape and just help this young woman, whoever was screaming, we all took a moment to realize that look at us. Eyes red. Young kids awake in the middle of the night, running to this situation. We all came to the same conclusion that the authorities are going to think that we are the ones that caused this. It was that real. It was that instinct of pure just wanting to defend this poor woman. It was that real. And we all felt the need to just sprint and jump over a wall that led to a 20-foot drop just to help this poor woman. Only to realize that we were just kids. And we were all under the influence. In no way am I saying that that was okay. Mind you, it was years ago. But we realized that the severity of the situations in our head, we may be blamed for the situation at hand. In our young minds, couldn't comprehend that. Only years after did we realize it. In what way would it be possible that we all felt the same hallucination? And the guilt of maybe it was true. You're all under the influence, young kids. Things I'd rather not mention. But it was so real to the fact that we were so ready to jump off a wall just to go help this person. And yet, we heard no sirens. We saw no lights. We saw no reactions. In a neighborhood where having music blasting after 10 p.m. is enough to get a squad car in front of your house. So why was there no reaction in such a dire cry for help? And years after, was I watching a podcast or something on YouTube that mentioned the Banshee? And there's many misconceptions about the Banshee. It's a lot of folklore from Ireland, or from what I heard in many different situations, was that the Banshee screams 3 times anytime someone passes away. And in our neighborhood at the time, there was many elderly neighbors. A lot of them were very elderly, beautiful people, mind you. But it was pretty often that we would hear the sirens, firemen, and an ambulance coming up. And we all knew what it was. Beautiful people, but elderly nonetheless. So to hear such deafening, death-defying screams such as that, it was completely unnatural to not hear sirens coming up after. And the legend of the Banshee, which I found out later, as I said, was that it screams 3 times when someone loses their lives. And each scream is more